Hello, welcome back. This is season 2 from the newly branded pubcast from Thefanpubcast. Welcome, Sean. How are you?
It's good to be back, Al. I can't believe it. It feels like a long off season, doesn't it?
Well, it is still going for a lot of people, but we're champing at the bit, really, or chomping at the bit to get.
We're already involved in stuff already. Aren't we?
We've already done one sort of big dynasty league, so that kept us, cold turkey away for.
Yeah, we'll look forward to talking about a bit more about dynasty this season, won't we?
We will, yeah, because we'll probably do that in a follow-up video. So what we thought we'd do, because obviously the first thing you need to know what's changed from last year. So what we thought we'd do is go through all the teams, talk about their situations and who could be value, who to watch out for, what rookies useful. Might make an impact, that sort of thing.
Great call, Al. That's the right thing to do. There's so much to discuss.
There is. So we'll start with the Bills in the AFC East. They're a team that have probably had a disappointing season. They sacked their head coach. Their best player, probably fantasy-wise, was in a boot most of the year. He's still sort of limited in practice. They've lost Gillisley to the Pats.
Yeah, big loss. Yeah, massive.
Do you want to talk about who you think the likely handcuff for McCoy owners will be this year?
I think it's fairly straightforward. I think it's Jonathan Williams. He came in last year as a rookie, and I think what you can see is clearly a guy who is more than capable to carry the load should anything happen to McCoy. And I think actually Jonathan Williams is phenomenal, sneaky fantasy value. He's not going to cost you a lot. He's going to be very late in most drafts, whether it's dynasty, whether it's redraft, whatever the format. Very, very cheap. He's going to be one of these very late players. You're looking probably late, even in a large league, round 12, 13, 14, massively late.
So he could be someone who carries a lot of value. If McCoy goes down, and he has got injury history, we all know that.
There's value in that player. And the other problem is as well, and we really will probably talk about this a lot more this year, is handcuffs and thoughts and feelings around those handcuffs, how important they are and whether they're as important as people think. I think that's definitely worth some time, but not today.
So would you? I mean, is he definitely you'd advocate somebody getting him in a later round? Then?
Definitely, yeah.
Especially a McCoy owner, or if you want to get one over on.
You see, I think the thing is the big advantage for the McCoy owner is it's not going to cost you a lot because it is a late round pick, so you can decide when you need to come in to get him. That's the nice thing. A lot of the times when we talk about handcuffs, if we take the reverse situation and we take Derrick Henry, he's going to cost you a very high pick. Yeah. And the big question you've got is when you've got the situation you need to get the number one guy and quite quickly the number two, you're wasting a lot of leverage in your team. Do you really need both?
Yeah, this is a good situation. High price,
very high. So I think in this case, for McCoy, the McCoy owner, this is a cheap handcuff. You can have him if you can get him. It's relatively easy. And if you want to be sneaky about it, I think it's quite a good late round flyer for anybody who wants to think, well, if anybody goes down, who's going to end up with a lot of value? Jonathan Williams is one of them players.
Sammy Watkins, what are your thoughts on Sammy Watkins? Is he somebody you're going to touch?
No, there are some players this year that every year you have to evaluate them and you have to think to yourself, was last year's glass player going to be this year's have the glass seen?
He's elite when he's fit.
Very much so, but I still believe this year, I'm afraid, I've got to say, on track record, history and everything else, he's a player I'm avoiding 100%. He's not on my list.
Do you think they'll run the ball a lot more, even with a change of head coach?
I think they have to. I think the reason they have to run the ball a lot more than many teams, actually, is the conditions. I mean, we spoke about this in the off-season. I mean, Buffalo, the first few weeks of the year, like every team, no matter where you play, it's relatively okay weather-wise. As soon as you hit October and November time, the weather can viciously change there. It doesn't suit a passing game that throws deep, although, Tyrod Taylor, very good quarterback for that, and that's one of the reasons he's hung around there. But equally, it's much harder to do, as anybody will tell you, who's thrown in any kind of wind.
You need to keep your feet warm and wear a boot.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, he wears a lot of... There's a few players. There's a few players who wear a few boots there. Just add the gloves.
Looking at the other side, obviously they've lost Robert Woods, so they've got the rookie Zay Jones. They've got Andre Holmes.
I like Zay Jones. Yeah, it's good value. Good
Do you think he'll be the starter there? They've got Corey Brown, Rod Streeter, people who...
No, I think Zay Jones is a wide receiver too already, and I think as we reach, and I'm being really honest with this, I'm giving it all out in the open straight away this year. I think Zay Jones will be the number 2 there confidently, and I think you'll see this through training camp. That does not necessarily equate to fantastic fantasy gold, but it does tell you he's going to have value.
But maybe in a dynasty league, because opportunity is often...
Yeah, very much in a dynasty league is a very good pick, because you're getting something out of it year one, and you're going to get more value as time goes by.
Charles Clay, obviously at tight end, he's been there and done it. He's had knee injuries, quite a lot of his career. I bet you can't name the number 2 tight end now. I've never heard of
No, I
Nick
can't.
O'Leary.
No, I mean, I've heard of Nick O'Leary, but no, I didn't know he was there. That tells you everything you need to know, doesn't it?
I've never heard of it.
I do worry about Clay. I think this recent injury and the way they've spoke about it gives you kind of hints that this could be a big problem. Almost you get the feeling, are they advocating or hinting that this is the end of Clay? Are they saying that if he doesn't recover from this one, it's over? I think they may be. So there may be some sneaky value here.
Okay, so let's move on to the Dolphins. I think that's enough on the Bills, really.
Yeah.
Obviously, we can look forward to a full season of Jay Ajayi this year.
Yes. I'm glad you brought him up. Yeah, it's going to be good to talk about him.
How highly would you rate him? He's going in the sort of Melvin Gordon, DeMarco Murray.
Brilliantly brought it up, and it's one thing I'm going to give away straight away is I've got a list of what I call my top 10 predictions for this year. The Jay Ajayi pick is the number 2. Jay Ajayi, stud this year. Put your money on it. Bank the house on it. Everybody's been down on him. Have they really watched the tape on this guy? 3 200-yard games is no fluke. That Miami team has got serious problems. We all know that. But this is a guy who is for 1 year. I don't think of him as a dynasty player, Jay Ajayi, at the moment, because I'm a bit concerned about how long you get out of him. But I do understand, even in dynasty, running backs only have 3 to 4 years normally. So my advice for this year is go high. This is a guy you can afford to get. He's going in the first round at the end of most first rounds, or sometimes slipping into the second round. What value
and that's
is
in larger leagues, so in smaller leagues
he's the second round value in a small league. What value is this guy? He's going to be their 3-down running back. He's got all the work. We've talked about all the issues with Miami and their passing game and some of the things that hold them back, but this is a guy who's capable of doing it. And I think he didn't really have a full reign of the offense till week 8, and what he produced after that was nothing short of fantastic. So I'm not going to let the stats lie to me. This is a guy I rate really highly. How highly? Pen yourself in for 12 to 1300 yards. You'll get your 10 touchdowns. He's a player worth at least 180 fantasy points. More than likely is 200. That is very safe. So unless the knee gives out, there's no cause for alarm. There's been nothing last year. He was taking hits. He was going through tackles. As far as I can see, that is a real quality player, and I'm backing him, and I've no fear on him at all. If he falls to me, I'll take him, and everybody who knows me in any league knows I won't tell you any lies. If he's there, I'll take him. Who would I take him over? There's a few running backs around him who are going perhaps a little bit higher than him, who have more risk. For example, we've talked about Fournette. I like Fournette for the first round in this year's drafts because I think Fournette will end up about pick 10, in that pick 10 range, 10 to 12, when it's all said and done and we go through the ADPs by season start. I would still take Jay Ajayi over him, and yet he'll fall after him because Jay Ajayi has just so much more upside.
I think he'll go above him, but
I
think he'll only go below him if you pick.
Yeah, well, I rate him, and so Jay Ajayi I'm very high on, and I think
Damien Williams will get some third down work here and there mixed in.
Yeah.
Ryan Tannehill, are you a fan? You got the same. You got the same receiving core. You got Landry, obviously getting the underneath stuff. You got Stills. You got Parker, who hasn't managed to stay fit all year.
No,
they've added Julius Thomas, who
I like the
either.
basis of the Miami team. I like the offense has the potential to be really explosive fantasy wise, but there are very few pieces worth trusting. I think if you look at the way the value's going, it looks like Jarvis Landry's falling into roughly round 3 or 4, depending on size of league. That's the perfect spot for him. He's a safe pair of hands, so I don't have a problem with him.
He's somebody that does contrast opinions. I've seen people saying he's a real bargain in the sort of 3rd, 4th round in bigger drafts, and I've seen people say don't touch him.
Well, here's the issue.
Definitely someone who has.
Here's the issue. Look, the thing is can Jay Ajayi... Sorry, apologies. Can Jarvis Landry get you... Let's say he goes round 3. So my metrics tells me from last year, if you remember, 200. You want 200 points for your first round, 180 for your second, 160 for your third. Can he get you 160? The truth is, he's always going to be in and around that number, no matter what he does.
He's a good player, isn't he? And he's fairly consistent, but he's not.
He's not exciting. There's no high ceiling to him. So if you're picking him, he's
not somebody who's going to get you like 10.
It's not going to explode past 160 fantasy points. He's not going to explode past it. Unless all the stars align correctly, which I suspect they won't. So
he's
the truth is,
52 off the board
he's a safe pair of hands.
Okay.
And that's the reality for him. The rest of the offense is so. Julius Thomas always flashes potential. I believe he's now back with his original offensive coordinator.
Who he did well with in Denver.
So you have to sort of put a little tick against him and think. Maybe
Adam Gase said and that's what Julius Thomas adds. He said 10 to 12 touchdowns. I mean, I think that's probably a bit high, but
I think if you're being honest with the tight end numbers being so low, he's going to go late. Julius Thomas probably. Relatively late as far as tight ends go, but that's perfect value. Nothing wrong with it.
He's somebody to keep an eye on that can get you touchdowns.
He can be in the mix for being one of the better tight ends. So again, if somebody picks him up quite late middle rounds, whenever it is, you start going in for your tight ends, and I'll advocate again like I did last year. Pick late. Don't worry too much about them. They're all much alikeness. I'm not going to worry about it. Julius Thomas is a good bargain there. So that's my take on Miami this year. Looking forward to seeing how they do.
Okay, moving on to the Pats. Obviously, they gave away their first round draft pick to go and secure the services of Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
Obviously, they've already got Julian Edelman. They've got Hogan. They've got Mitchell. Amendola's still there. They've got Gronk in the receiving corps.
Yeah.
So, Brady's got some weapons there. Of course, he's got White, and he's got, he's got Dion Lewis out the backfield to catch passes.
The one thing you didn't want to see happen was New England have a fantastic off-season.
And what they've done with the running backs.
And what they've done is they've improved, I think they've improved their team all round, really sneakily.
They've picked up Brandon Cooks, they've picked up Mike Gillisley, who we both like a lot.
Really, really high. And
we think he's a guy...
Rex Burkhead as well.
We think then Burkhead's good as well. I mean, Burkhead is running back 62 off the ball.
Fantastic, really good player.
Gillisley is RB28.
Yeah,
he will be a lot higher come drafting time.
Here's my number 3 pick. Okay, so here's my number 3 pick for the year. So I've already given you my top 2 already in this first podcast. I'm not telling you my number 1 till near the start of the season. There's a reason for this. Gillisley, how good is he? Put your money on him. It's like it's obvious what's going to come.
He's someone who passes the eye test.
It is so obvious. Current value for ADP for Gillisley, where's he going?
He's going ADP 65, running back 28.
So I'll give you a prediction for Gillisley: 1,200 yards, 10 to 15 touchdowns. And I'm telling you, this is so easy. There's no reason to doubt him. They can have as many running backs as they want in the backfield. New England's philosophy has slightly changed. And one thing that's clear for me is Bill Belichick knows when he's been given something valuable, and that is the piece they've been looking for.
It was a bit of a stroke of genius.
It's brilliant, and I guarantee Gillisley will be fantastic hot property.
He will not be going 65.
It won't be going 65. So people that took him, I've been really kind of having to suppress my thoughts a lot. Already, even in Dynasty, I've had to hold back from taking certain players because I think I don't want to give too much away. But Gillisley's one I can say. So he really is good, and he's a player that I suspect is brilliant value. And do I believe in large leagues that he'll go 65 by the start of the season? Not a chance. He'll be gone in round 2.
I mean,
round 2.
They've lost their Garrett Blunt, so somebody's going to have the running role. It's not going to be White or Lewis. They're not predominantly receiving backs, aren't they? I know they do the odd
for a different kind of game plan, like the final. I mean,
White was the Super Bowl MVP, but
all but in name.
He's more of a pass catcher.
Yeah, he was perfect in that role when the game needed to be split wide open and needed every inch, every yard. He was perfectly put out there.
Obviously,
they're more dangerous than they were last year.
And
that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
dangerous.
When they're Super Bowl champions, they've got Gronk. I mean, Gronk's like a new signing this year. He didn't play.
He didn't play much of last year. I mean, we're going to talk about Gronk in future videos.
They've lost Martellus Bennett and added Dwayne Allen, but there's probably not.
There's no loss there. I mean, Dwayne Allen is
very capable.
Very capable second tight end. I mean, you're getting value in the tight end positions. I mean, because tight ends are all tight ends, aren't they? I'm not really going to dwell on it, but they're all pretty much likeness, and they'll all give you a certain amount of points. But the New England Titans will always be up near the top of the tree. There's no doubt about that. If they're healthy, they'll be right up near the top of the list. The whole team smacks of improvements across the board fantasy-wide. He's got a wide-open offence. You've got Captain Fantastic leading it, who knows how to use every player. He never looks anybody off. He is just so clever at what he does. This is a team that's destined to be in the top 4 again, and I actually think they're so easy for Super Bowl. How will they not get back? Honestly, it's going to need a miracle from the NFL to stop them, because people have made big mistakes in this off-season, giving them players big mistakes, and they will capitalise on those, and they are going to be interesting fantasy-wise. You won't be let down.
Yeah, it's going to take like a Brady injury.
Cooks is going to be... Yeah, we'll need a Brady injury to derail the whole thing.
Because even Gronk's injury didn't derail him last year.
They still found ways to win.
Better.
But they even still found ways to win last year when Brady wasn't in for 3 weeks.
And probably the best team in the division. The New York Jets.
Oh, they look fabulous. Do the Jets actually? Are they taking the NFL seriously? I mean, I'm a little bit concerned that the Jets.
If it was a dynasty league, you'd accuse them of tanking.
You would,
because their decisions about it are absolutely horrible.
They seem to be wanting to head for at least a 2-14 record, and 2 being the amount of wins. I mean, it strikes me as a team looking to get the number 1 pick. I mean, the off-season moves have been dire. The whole team looks awful. I mean, I've been asked loads of questions about Anunwa and Bilal Powell, and up until all these off-season moves, I was actually quite excited for both players. I was thinking, oh, this is quite good for both of them. You know, they're going to finally get good opportunities to really shine. And here's the problem. So you've got Bilal Powell in the backfield because 40's, you know, kind of on the downwards trend now. There's not much left in the tank. I'm sure there'll be good games in there somewhere.
Yeah, he'll still get probably 40% of the carries.
He'll still get value, and that makes him okay if you're going for that kind of zero RB route. A trusted pair of hands like 40 won't do you any harm at your running back 2 or 3 in the flex.
I think Bilal Powell goes down the upside.
Bilal Powell, it was exciting until now. Now I see a situation where would I worry as an offensive coordinator about the passing attack for New York Jets? No, I just put my best defender on Anunwa. Don't worry about the rest of the receiving corps, and I just stack the rest of the players in the box.
I mean, they actually cut Decker yesterday as well.
It's a disaster.
After failing to trade him,
it's an absolute disaster. As far as I see,
Brandon Marshall's gone to the Giants.
As far as I see, I think they are in desperately. It is a tanking operation. It's a tanking operation to get the number 1 pick. And congratulations, Jets owners.
I mean, they were an old team, and they had you know Forte, they had Decker, they had Marshall.
But that was their choices.
They had Fitzmagic.
Yeah, but that was their choices. That's what they chose to do.
And it looks like they're cutting their losses, starting again. But then why sign Josh McCown?
Well,
another journeyman quarterback.
I've seen teams rebuilding, and when they say, "Oh, we're rebuilding," I've seen like the Rams have been rebuilding since 2001. How many more years are we going to say we're rebuilding? I mean, crikey, we just. We'll go on and on and on talk about rebuilding. I mean, that's the problem the Jets will have. This will be forever and a day now. They'll be in a very dark place for a long time.
I do think Anunwa is a good player. I mean,
out of all of them,
a lot of them are comparables to Josh Gordon.
But his ADPs, you see, the ADPs for Bilal Powell and Anunwa make them. For me, there are better players around them. I'm sorry, I just can't trust
better situation.
Much better situation. I can't trust the ADPs, and if I'm being honest, and I've got to try to put that honesty in there. I'll only pick him if that's the best option left at that situation. Yes, I would do it. That's Bilal Powell and Anunwa. I would do that. But I suspect come draft days, there'll be always better options around them that I'll trust more than them. So I'm afraid they'll never see the light of day in one of my teams this year.
What about Robbie Anderson? Is not very elusive when he's trying to resist arrest.
Never going to see the light of day in any fantasy team. So I think the Jets...
I think he will play, but what is going on there?
I don't want to talk about the Jets. I think they've had it. I really do. I think it's a terrible season ahead. I think you'll be really picking the bones out of the fantasy value.
They've got a good tight end that they can rely on. Austin Severian-Jenkins.
Oh, he's very
never let anyone down.
No, always top draw. They're talking up so much already in the off-season how well he's done. I look forward to his first banning of the season in week 1.
I mean, they got Jordan Leggett, a rookie tight end.
Who should be gone next year. He'll definitely be legged. He'll be gone. He'll be off.
He want to leg it.
Okay,
well, let's move on from the Jets because I think their fantasy value
is limited.
Isn't it? We'll move on to the FC North. The Ravens, obviously.
Oh, this is a very interesting team.
Still Flacco at the helm. Yeah. Kenneth Dixon misses 4 games for PED violation. I mean, that's a mess for a rookie who might have been quite a nice pick otherwise. And that.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of on my. He's moved on. Fortunately, he would have been one of those picks I would have had in my list of being players for this year I would have put some money on to do well, but unfortunately with his suspension and various other things, he's more now a deep sleeper. I know that
he's
people,
not even that deep though.
Yeah, well, the problem the ADP is too high for him. That's the issue I have. So he's gone
especially missing 4 games.
He's gone from being potentially a really interesting player that you might consider fantasy wise at the right level on his ADP to being irrelevant now. He's so far back on my list. I mean, sure, again, when
in fact, the other guy, Terrence West,
has probably got better value.
Yeah, because no one liked him,
and he always seems to do okay. When given a chance, Terrence West.
I mean, he's distinctly average, but he'll have games
sometimes in good offences because they have got actually quite a good spread offense. They've got a lot of
Danny
weapons.
Woodhead now as well.
They've got a lot of weapons. A lot of weapons. I like.
They've still got Buck Allen, Taliaferro.
Yeah. Well, these are all names that are relevant fantasy.
I like Woodhead.
Woodhead will do well. I like. Do you know
if he stays fit? Yeah.
I like what they've done in terms of their receiving core, and I think is it going to be interesting to pick the bones out of that?
Well, the news was half the press yesterday that Macklin left the Chiefs. He's been acquired by the Ravens. They're also said to be interested in Decker, which we don't know at this moment whether that'll happen.
I think they're probably a bit
Mike
too.
Wallace,
You've just picked up Macklin for the slot, so I can't see them getting Decker as well. It seems a bit pointless.
But they've lost two. I mean, they've lost Aitken from last year, haven't they? And Steve Smith.
Yeah.
And now they've lost Dennis Pitter.
Well, they've got the
underrated.
You see, they've got the underrated guy who's going to be their number one. It's Mike Wallace. I mean, again, his ADP is fantastic. If you want a wide receiver later, say you've gone running back heavy in your drafts because of situation, and you ended up looking around in those sort of later rounds, middle rounds. I think Mike Wallace is just great value because he will get you like Steve Smith role, steady guy, 32 years old. Real seasoned veteran, definitely in a good, interesting offense. We're not talking mega production, but we are talking 1,000 yards and probably anywhere around about 8 touchdowns.
They do throw a lot, the Ravens.
They do.
Although they don't achieve a lot always. But
well, I think Flacco was solid last year in his fantasy numbers. He was always around that 15 to 18 point mark every week. There was a few exceptions where he did exceptionally well. So again, he's a great second quarterback to have, and occasionally at home or the odd game where it just suits them because they do play the Browns a couple of times. Brilliant, isn't it?
I mean, you look at their tight end situation now.
Yeah,
they've lost Pitter, probably career-ending injury. Ben Watson missed all last year with an Achilles injury. Max Williams had knee surgery 8 months ago.
Yeah,
they've got Crockett Gilmore.
The right name.
Is there anyone there you want to?
No.
Okay.
No.
We'll move on.
Yeah. No, nothing.
Okay.
I mean, you give them 4 great fantasy names.
The Cincinnati Bengals. They signed boxer Joe Mixon.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of Joe Mixon's, and again, I can be very open about
this.
He's
football player.
Yeah, football player, not the off-field, not the off-season.
We can't condone what he's been doing.
That sort of stuff's horrendous.
Have you seen the video? It's terrible.
It's absolutely awful.
Really awful.
I can't condone that, but what I can talk about is his football stuff, and what I think you'll see. Joe Mixon, for me, probably is the running back of the class actually coming in.
He could well be, couldn't he?
He looks. It's the right fit. It's the right offense. It's the right kind of player. I'm very high on him, but I think a lot of people are going to be very high on him.
He's climbed 20
his
places.
ADP is constantly climbing.
Yeah,
I mean, sitting now at which level is it currently? Because it was down to about 40 something. Is that still in that range, or is it?
I think he's at 40. He's exactly 40.
Right.
He was 58.
So you get an idea in the large leagues that we tend to look at. And apologies for using that. That's the large leagues because we just assume that you're going to need 16 teams. You're looking at round 3. So midway through round 3.
It's
so
still a risk, isn't it? You don't know how
still,
get the job.
It's still a big risk, but let me be honest, and I'm going to, again, I've got to put my predictions out there because it's important that people hear them and know where I'm coming from. There's no hiding from them. And I think if we look at last year's predictions, we've got nothing to be ashamed of with what we both said. In fact, actually, we should be really proud of those predictions.
Yeah,
so
here's
another one for this year then with Joe Mixon. He will win the training camp job. He will take over from Jeremy Hill. He will start week 1. He will produce, and he is a fantastic player for this year. I'm putting him in that 1,200 range, 1,200 yards, easy 8 to 12 touchdowns in that range. Very comfortable, great player, really good. What I would do if I had him in Dynasty, I would look for that, hope that I'm right, and hope that you've backed me and you go, yeah, you know what, you were right on this kid. He was spot on. And then what you do is you sell high at the end of your dynasty year. You sell as high as you can because I think the off-season for players that have troubled history is always the worst time.
Yeah.
So I look to sell high. As much as I really rate him, and you will get a great price for him. There's no doubt.
And people will be out to get him.
And people will love what they see.
The press will be out to get him.
Press will
I mean, if he was in England, they'd be every day.
It'd be terribly bad luck for him here. They'd never give him a chance.
How he gave you a black eye.
Yeah, well, I try not to think about it anymore.
I'll be suing him, Mike. I saw it all. Anyway.
Please, Joe Mixon, give me a black eye because I just do with the press.
I mean, Jeremy Hill has averaged... he's a plodder.
Yeah.
He's not great to watch, but he's averaged nearly 10 touchdowns a season for the last 3 years.
It's a good offensive situation as opposed to Jeremy Hill being really good.
He isn't great, but
no, his problem is
what my problem is.
Look at the yards every single year. Just follow the yard trend down.
He's like Blunt. He's a big plodder, isn't he? He might steal. See, my problem with him is while I temper my enthusiasm, Mixon is the undoubted talent. Gio's going to miss a couple of days because of his ACL, probably. That's the theory. But Hill, the three of them might all get mixed in. It might be a shared backfield.
I see no shared backfield,
especially with Hill stealing.
Let me tell you why. Okay?
Hill could easily steal goal line carries.
Let me dispel that. Right, I see what you're saying, and a lot of people have said this. Let's just dispel that once for all. Okay, look,
I'm not saying it will happen.
No,
I'm saying there's a chance.
it's logical. What you're saying is totally. That is what a lot of people have said. They've said exactly that to me. How can you be so high on Mixon? What's your belief in this? Only 4 teams would touch Mixon. Out of those 4 teams, Cincinnati went in hard and earlier than a lot of people actually predicted. Round 2, because he's a round 1 talent. You do not take this heat to your team, no matter how good the player is, unless you're going to back them. And that means they're going to play him, and they're going to play him a lot, because they believe in the talent, and they believe that that's the missing piece for them to get over the playoff hump.
I think long term, definitely.
I think this year.
This year, because Hill goes at the end of this year.
Yeah.
So... they're not going to want to put him. I just think it. Gio's going to have some downs, isn't he?
Yeah, he's going to have some.
Because he's that talented. He's going to get third down.
And that's what you want. You want to mix in the 2 running backs, but the 2 running backs you want is Mixon and Giovanni Bernard in the same backfield at the same time.
Split carries the first season. I think. Well,
if you have any doubts, the worst case scenario is let's say that plays out. The first 4 weeks, it's a 50-50 kind of split between the running load between Hill and Mixon. I wonder how that split will work out if I'm right with Mixon and actually his production is much better. I suspect Hill gets dropped pretty quick.
He's going to be more dynamic, and I think we're all agreed on that.
He can do everything. Okay, watch the tape. He does it all. He's an excellent player. I have no doubt. I will comfortably, if anybody dare leave him in the 3rd round and I'm picking, goodbye Mixon. I'll take that shot all day long, because in those rounds, as I've said, started thinking about this more and more last year, and I'm going to talk about it a lot more in these videos and various podcasts that we do. First 2 rounds you want locks. Now round 3 you can take some shots, because you've got to start thinking about players that can do it. Mixon's one I'm very happy to take a shot on. If anybody leaves him, thanks for that. I'll happily take him. I suspect I won't be surprised by the time we start a season in big leagues under 32 he'll be going under 32.
Okay, well we'll be doing a video coming up about the Dynasty rookie rankings, things like that, so keep an eye out for that. So we'll move on to their wide receiver core. Obviously, they've got AJ Green. He's standing
elite. Yeah, you were right. I've been talked around by you over the last year and a half. I've kind of always had a little doubt with him, and I don't know why, because he's stupid. Yeah, he's elite. He
doesn't often miss time. Last year was, obviously he did.
Unlucky last year, and you were right. When he was playing, he was very, very elite. And how can you doubt a guy that's that season's that professional, has had 200-point games before, 200-point seasons, before. It's very difficult to doubt him, and given where he's going in the ADP charts, which is about right, he's a first-round talent, and I can't dispute it. I personally struggle to pick him at that point, because I think there are other players that probably give me more points, but there is a certain point where his value is just too good. You can't pass it up in that first round.
I think if you're picking like anywhere from 10 downwards,
you can't let it go.
You can't go wrong with that.
No, you can't.
What do you think of their other receiver? You got Brandon LaFell, Tyler Boyd, obviously second season, and you got John Ross, who's coming off shoulder surgery.
This is my
miss training camp.
Yeah, this is my
big, exciting rookie.
This is my big concern with their number 2. This is why I think the running game is more important than anything. This is the other part to it. We know Green's elite. He can be double covered and still produce, and that's always a sign of a great elite.
Well, probably their number 2 is Tyler Eifert, isn't it? But again, he's injured. He's injured again. He's had back surgery.
Tyler Eifert is constantly a red flag player, and I just will not pick that high on a tight end in the ADP charts. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen.
But there could be a time, a place where he falls to where he is valued, because if he plays, he's...
Well,
he's one of the elite.
If you look at the ADP for Tyler Eifert, he's going high out, and too high for my blood. I won't pay that kind of price for him. As for their number 2, you would have to suspect, based on the players, it would technically be John Ross. But I think the problem is Ross...
missing training camp's not good.
Well, John Ross to me is glass. I've already penned him in for... I'm not interested. He's a rookie that won't even meet any of my fantasy boards this year. Until you can prove you can actually stand up to the NFL, let alone college level. How many times he was injured with different knocks and injuries in college level? It was a massive amount. I think this is the one mistake Cincinnati made. They went a bit too aggressive for him. I see why they've done it, because they're trying to change the old guard a little bit and move to more fresh blood while they've still got good pieces around it.
Well, if they had AJ Green and him, at their...
Would be great.
If they both reach their peak.
Yeah, would be fantastic. And with the running game, they've got potential.
And Tyler Eifert at tight end.
There's a lot to like about Cincinnati's offence. And also as well, that would also by definition tell you that Andy Dalton is going very late in a lot of people's charts. It's actually really good value there.
Andy Dalton is always value every year because... I don't know if it's because he's ginger or...
Probably. It's probably a British thing over an American thing, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
maybe it's a British thing, I don't know. But you are right. He tends to always slip down low, what is it normally, 16 to 20 in that quarterback ranking? And sometimes even later.
He's definitely in the back third of quarterbacks.
And to be blunt, I don't mind, because quarterbacks for me, again, you either have... I say this now and I'll say it again this year. Either you go in hard and get the elite. For me, there's an elite 3/4. Okay, you either get one of the elite ones. I understand if you go in early to do that fantasy, I get it. But if you've not got one of the top ones, I'm waiting. I'll wait all day. And if Andy Dalton's there, I don't mind him as a quarterback.
No, you're waiting for Jared Goff, we know.
Oh, no, yeah.
I mean,
who wouldn't wait for that elite talent?
you get Fitzmagic as backup, just in case something goes wrong.
How can you go wrong with those two?
Okay. Moving on to Browns, obviously they're a team that I quite like. I've got a bit of a soft spot for the Browns. I feel sorry for them.
I want them to do well. Every year I want them to improve, and I think there's...
The management has shown some signs of excitement and life, breathing life.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think
if
you talk about the cleverness of their draft and the way they've manoeuvred to get more picks and how they've done it and what they're working towards, there's clearly people who understand the numbers game here. And they are working towards turning that franchise round. There's signs of improvement, but until you can lock down the franchise quarterback and build pieces round him,
well, let's just talk about
this is the issue.
So you've got Cody Kessler.
Yeah, he's all right.
You've got Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, don't like him.
Deshaun Kaiser.
Yeah.
Them three are going to be fighting for the QB1, and all rumours have Brock Osweiler. In front.
I think what's shockingly bad about this is, Deshaun Kaiser, draft player. I mean, he you don't want to throw... I mean, the Browns must have learnt this, hopefully, by now. You don't put this kid out there. You give him a year to build behind the scenes. And in fact, actually, you would just literally tell him...
learning from Brock Osweiler.
Well, anybody...
I'm going to throw the ball.
Well, there's other things. I mean, learning isn't just learning from other quarterbacks. Obviously, you've got your coaches who will directly impact his mechanics and directly impact how he actually plays, and also how he thinks about the game. So you just want to make sure he's protected for the first year. Just see what you've got. Take your time with him. So really it comes down to the other two, and I'm concerned about both, but I don't trust Osweiler. We saw what Osweiler can do, and it wasn't good enough.
When he played for Denver, you thought, actually, he looks a decent quarterback. Given a chance, he'll do well.
Wide receivers did that for him.
Well, possibly, because, they're both decent, aren't they?
Yeah, the wide receivers helped him.
But sometimes maybe a change of system and a change of scenery can help someone, can't it? In everyday life.
Yes, that's true. This is going from...
With a different coach.
This is going from,
I know.
18...
I know he's asking a lot.
It's asking an awful lot, because they're going from a team that had a decent defence, one of the best in the league, with some good offensive pieces... And Osweiler made both Hopkins and Lamar Miller with coaching issues as well. The coaching is to blame, but combined, made them all look average.
Well, you threw the ball on the floor, so it's hard to catch.
I suspect if you go to Cleveland and you're saying, can he improve that situation? I think the answer is no. I think very quickly he will be replaced. That's the issue.
Another worrying sign, I think, for Cleveland, despite I think they might improve this year. Corey Coleman again. Could be a very good receiver. We both like him.
Yeah.
But again, he's got two injuries. One of them sore hamstring another injury.
The thing was, until a few weeks ago, until this all brewed up again, I was thinking this is a sneaky player that you can get in the middle rounds of most drafts. Really good value.
And I don't think it's anything major. I think he could make the season, but it's a bit worrying.
Now all the things combined have kind of taken him off my radar, and I'm like, yeah, okay, there's better options around him. And that's really how I've started looking at him now. It's more like, I like the potential... and there's definitely an opportunity. It's just the pieces around him just don't kind of work. It doesn't
he's not going to wide receiver 41, ADP, 103 in a redraft league.
And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the fine value out there. But the problem is, there are probably, again, I'm sorry to say it, but even at that deeper range, there are probably better players around him that you would pick ahead of him just because of the situation.
Well, Eric Decker's at 100.
I'd take Eric Decker all day long, just based on his overall ability to get touchdowns.
In fact, the other Cleveland wide receiver... Kenny Britt's there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, don't want to dwell too much on Cleveland, but I'm afraid it will be another building year. But I think there are certainly signs of improvement because
they did well last year in a struggling offense.
Yeah, there's some nice things. I think a lot of people are very high, obviously, on Isaiah Kroll.
How high are you on him?
Well, I can see why he's going as high as his ADP, but now he's now moved into the second round of a large league ADP.
So it's all about value, isn't it?
And my problem with that is you're now asking the Cleveland running back to get you 180 fantasy points because you've got to be safe. I'll say this all.
He's going to pick 26.
What I'm saying about this is when we talk about
Aaron Rodgers,
when we talk about round 1 and 2, you want. That's your lock players for me. In sometimes it can be round 3 if it's a smaller league. You just got to judge it. We're talking about 32 teams, 2 rounds. If those 2 lock, the rest of the picks underneath that are kind of you're trying to find other players to lock around those 2.
Right, let's do a quick.
I like him, but is he 100?
Cut trade key?
Yeah, okay.
Isaiah Crowell, Carlos Hyde, and Marshawn Lynch for a redraft.
I would probably take Isaiah Kroll over those other 2.
He's the one you keep.
I probably would, yeah. I'd keep him. I'd try and trade Marshawn Lynch on name alone and cut the other one. Hyde.
Cut Hyde.
Yeah, cut Hyde and believe in the fact that Hyde's going to spend a lot of this season sharing the load with Joe Williams, I think.
Okay, well, we'll move on from the... we should... obviously, we should just mention tight end Njoku.
Yeah,
that could be an interesting...
He's a very, very good player long term. Good dynasty player. You can see the value. You can see what that's going to do for the running game. But I'm concerned the value that people are putting on Isaiah Kroll to improve that much is a lot. But I do think this guy is going to be a very, very good tight end for a number of years. But you can't expect when was the last time a tight end came in, rookie tight end, and produced solid fantasy numbers? If you think about it. You're hoping that he's going to do that. He's one of a few good tight ends in this draft. I think you're probably looking at 400 to 600 yards and probably about 4 to 6 touchdowns is a very fair range for Njoku's value. And that's fine if you've got a couple of tight ends. You'll get him late. You can get a couple of late tight ends, mix and match them depending on the game.
You prefer him in Dynasty, would you?
Yeah, I think as a Dynasty player, really good value, long-term excellent. He could be sensational.
He's a good player, doesn't he?
Really good. And they do need outlet valves. So when you're talking about these quarterbacks, he's going to be a player you're going to look for. You've got to look for him. He's a mismatch nightmare.
Barnage had an alright season a couple of years ago with
different circumstances at the time though.
Obviously they had McCown.
They had a game which sort of catered really for what I call, they were always behind it. It was garbage time and Barnbridge was always being used for that. So yeah, we'll see how it pans out.
Okay, well let's round off the AFC North with the Steelers. They've lost D'Angelo Williams. Obviously they got Bell. He's a bell cow back. I think I read somewhere a stat that he was involved in over 90% of rushes and over 90% of catches by an RB. So literally, the highest anyone else was 80 odd, and this is I think all time as well.
Yeah, Bell is a player that is on a stratospheric curve, the like of which we haven't seen in quite some time. I picked up on this curve.
Would you pick him number 1?
Bell deserves to be in the top 3, but I wouldn't necessarily take him number 1. But I'd be very happy if he fell to number 2 or 3.
Yeah,
they're all 3 of those guys at the top of this year's ADP are great. Except I will say this right now: I think I've got something that's even better than them 3. But that's just me, and I'll be sharing that after we draft.
Yeah, I think you need if you've got something better than them 3, I think you need to get checked out.
Well, no, it's a really solid prediction for this year, because you have to remember this as well. People forget this, that as much as we love, all of us love those 3 guys and we'd be delighted.
You're talking about a combination.
I'm talking about a combination of 2 players that will prove to have their elite career years right this year, and if you get them both, then you could be sitting on a gold mine. Equally it can go wrong, but everything has a risk. When you talk about the top 3, how many times in football history does the number 1 guy repeat the next year? It's very rare in fantasy. Very, very rare. So you have to be honest and say, as much as we love the 3 of them, sometimes you just have to tailor that. I would love to get either 3, but if I can't, there is some value out there that would be equally very interesting.
Is it Jared Goff and Tavern Austin?
No, it's not.
Okay, we'll move on.
Not this time, as much as Rand fan as I am.
Okay, so we're
just don't quite make the elite list. Very close.
Who do you see? If Bell, he's had problems, he's had a suspension for missing drug tests. He's obviously had quite a few injuries already in his short career.
Yeah.
Who do you see as the number 2? Toussaint, James Conner, Niall Davis, who seems to play for every franchise.
I think it has to be James Conner's the number 2. I think that this will clearly be spelled out come training camp, and that's the player that I'm banking will end up being the number 2. There's no guarantees. There's a fight there.
That's the problem with trying to pick a backup for him.
There's a fight there, but you will have a good indicator probably by the time you draft who it is. I suspect it will work out to be James Conner, and if that's right, that makes Conner's value. He'll go late. There's no reason to pick him high. He's another situation a bit like we talked about with Buffalo. The number 1 is clearly Bell, and if you're the owner of Bell, at some point you want to get Conner if that pans out to be correct, because it's cheap. It's cheap enough for you to own both. Sometimes with handcuffs the value is too high, it's too risky, and I wouldn't advocate trying to take both. But in this situation,
and you might know more if you drafted late in the season. If you're looking,
you know more. But if you don't know, so say for example we went into the training camp and you'd already drafted, and you were asking us, what would you take a handcuff? No, if you weren't sure who the handcuff is.
And if someone's taking 91% of snaps, do you even want a handcuff?
You don't really need a handcuff.
If it goes down.
It's only, sometimes in life, unfortunately, there are situations where it's just not worth the handcuff. But this is one where it could be. But, I'm giving you my honest opinion. I think James Conner will spell Bell if there are any issues. And you have to remember, Bell has averaged the league situation for running backs quite comfortably, which is this. Most number 1 RBs only make 13 out of the 16 games. Bell has averaged that. So Bell, you can pen him in for 13 games. The only concern is, the injuries are unfortunately plagued the guy, whether it's suspension or other injuries. I'm afraid that has been part and parcel of Bell. So you always got to temper the fact that he will probably miss some time. It's just a question of when. But while you have him in your team, that is an elite player of a unique talent.
Of course, they've lost an elite wide receiver in Marcus Wheaton.
Oh yeah, that's a big loss.
But unfortunately they've added Martavis Bryant back from suspension. Yeah. Absolute beast.
Well, we love him, don't we? I think we both agree.
And you've got Juju Smith-Schuster, who's a...
I think what we both agree about Martavis Bryant is it's a very interesting play. When you talk about ceilings of players, and he's one that's off the chart. It's like, for his value where he's going, he's wonderful. But the risk is so big.
Because
he's literally one suspension away from being
capped.
But
the reward is so big.
But the reward is massive. So I guess what we're saying here is,
if you're a gambler,
in redraft. It's a brilliant pick, right? In redraft, what a gamble. It's a great gamble because
I wouldn't do it in every league.
No, but I think in redraft, if you're in the middle early rounds, and he's there on the board, and you're thinking about players who've got the potential to explode, and you could get you more than his value by a long way. He clearly is one, because we know how good the Pittsburgh offense is. We know how good they are at home. We know how good this guy is for every time he plays, how often he gets touchdowns. All the signs point, if he gets on the field, and that's the if, going to be great.
What do you think about Big Ben saying he hasn't made an apology to me yet? We haven't had that conversation.
I suspect they'll
when you talk about some of the things he's done in his career.
Yeah, they've all got...
Is that a bit of a...
Yeah, this is all, sometimes when I talk to people and we talk about locker rooms, because I've got quite good experience of locker rooms, and
that can be taken the wrong way.
It can be, yeah. Not I lurk around them, but yeah.
That's for the late night podcast.
That's the late night podcast. I'll save that for you. But no, in all seriousness, locker rooms are funny things because that's where the politics comes in. It's how you have a bit of a laugh with each other. It's that people take things a bit seriously. Things can get heated where the coaches don't hear it, and things get said.
But why is it being aired out in public?
I guess he's looking for him to officially apologise to him. He just wants that conversation. It's a bit stupid, personally. What I would have done is marched up to the guy.
Well, why do you have to do that in public?
He didn't have to do it in public. You should have just marched up to him day one at camp. You march up to the guy and you say, tell us how you feel about what you did last year. Tell me how you feel about it. I think you're a bit silly, but tell me what you think. And you just air the thing out between yourselves and come to an agreement that ultimately the team needs you all. The team needs him. Our team can take another step in the playoffs if they got a Martavis Bryant in the backfield.
When they drafted Juju Smith-Schuster, he tweeted, didn't he, saying, "Well, that's your job lost Sammy Coates."
Such a stupid thing to tweet.
He did delete it.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It shows you the mentality of the guy.
It's clearly, as much as this is the problem, as much as the ceiling is high, the floor is close.
Yeah.
And I very much say a redraft, yes, dynasty, no chance, because if anything goes wrong this year in dynasty, you've lost the pick, you've lost the value. So and my advice would be, hopefully he has a good training camp, trade away, get the best value you can. Look to have a player this year and try and get some pick for next year in your rookie draft.
Do you see any value in redress with Juju Smith-Schuster?
Not first year, no. Not a player that will be high on my radar for the year one. Not even really a backup. I want players that can contribute, particularly in redraft.
Darius Hayward-Bay?
No.
Okay.
No.
Jesse James is interesting.
Yeah, it's turning into an interesting situation. I mean,
he reminds me of like an Eric of a Doyle that's with the Colts. He's very well liked.
Stars have aligned. Big man, 6'6".
The staff and the players like him.
6'6". He's a beast.
They cut the Darius Green due to the concussion issues and just cut their losses on
the guy, unfortunately, when you have the concussions are a real horrendous thing in the NFL, and obviously it's a very important topic. And unfortunately, he knew in himself he was never going to play again. Once you have those kind of concussions and they're telling you, best thing you can do is retire.
Like Keating, isn't it, really?
Then you pay the guy off and he retires with a bit of dignity. I mean, he did a good job. He was a good NFL pro. Unfortunately, never could live up to his full potential, which is a shame. But that happens in all life, all sports. Not everybody can win. But I think Jesse James is underrated. I think in tight ends he's great value.
The only problem for him is that there's so many mouths to feed. I mean, you had Eli Rogers and Tony Coates. You got Martavis Bryant. You got the Schuster, the rookie. Let's
just be honest. I mean, Jesse James. Yes, there's an improved opportunity. The stars have aligned, but the truth is, it's not elite. I mean, look, it's 100 to 130 fantasy points top end. Yeah. That's it. And to be honest, tight ends. If I can get Jesse James really late, which I probably could,
I'd be happy enough.
That's good enough. I mean, because tight ends is very difficult to predict much from them because even the best ones only got 130 or so points last year, and that ain't a lot to write home about when the weaker ones got 100 or so points. It's not a lot.
Okay, we'll move on to the AFC South. Houston Texans. Obviously, they traded. Traded up to get Deshaun Watson. They've got Tom Savage. Do you see winning the job there for this year? Well, is there any value in either of them?
It wasn't, as you know, it wasn't really the shock of it. I guess of the draft is more a case of I was surprised they took another quarterback. I'll be honest. I mean, I thought they would have learnt lessons from other teams that have struggled to find a franchise quarterback. The group that came in this year. There isn't a lot to talk about, really. If we're being honest, fantasy-wise, there's not a lot to talk about year one. There's nothing in there that immediately spells Tom Brady, although Tom Brady is a unique case. Like a lot of great quarterbacks don't always come out of the top class. But there's nobody there that really... I've only got one quarterback I like. And I'm sure when we cover his team off, we'll talk about him. But in this case, no. I mean, to me, it's just nothingness.
Who do you think wins the job?
Certainly not the rookie.
Do you think Tom Savage?
Yeah, I think so. I think, especially early days, what will happen though, the truth of what will happen is Tom Savage will start with a job through training camp and start with a job through the first few weeks in the NFL. They'll have a bad run and then suddenly the rookie be thrown in the deep end.
So where does that leave you with?
It's a nightmare.
With DeAndre Hopkins, because we both like his talent, don't we? He's a great.
It's really like this now.
And Osweiler kind of.
My hope was for him that up until as the season I'm always evaluating the same as you. We're evaluating out a season. We're already thinking about next year. You're already hoping that. Oh, can't wait to get started. Can't wait to start picking players. And you look at DeAndre Hopkins and think, what an opportunity! Late round 2 talent. Potentially round 3.
25 of the ball.
So early now. It's too early. It's too early with those quarterbacks. He was going nearly 32 for a small period of time, a couple of months back.
Yeah, he's been climbing. Cause I think
and the problem is that climb is totally unfounded. You're asking for 180 fantasy points. Sure, the talent's there. We know that, but if the quarterback
he's done it with average quarterbacks before, just not really bad ones that throw it on the floor.
My concern is both the ones he's got that are going to be thrown in the ball and there is no metrics anybody can prove to me that those two are going to be any better than Osweiler, which is horrendous to say.
Which makes Fuller and Fedorowicz not much of
and
a
so
play
I'm never going to touch Hopkins this year, and anybody that does, it's a great ceiling. We know how high the ceiling is, fantastic, but like I've been saying, the floor could be very close actually. Yes, he'll probably get you 160 fantasy points, but you'll want 180. 20 lost here. You've got to find that with the other players. It's never simple because you know what happens once you lose 20 here and 40 there. Suddenly your team's in trouble and making playoffs.
Okay, so
I know that and all too well and too close experience.
On looking at the running backs, you've got Lamar Miller, Alfred Blue still there.
Yeah.
Donta Foreman.
Yeah.
Is he a rookie?
Well, Lamar Miller is fine for the area round 2. Is a solid pick. It's going to be close to the points I suspect. I think he's going to be better than last year, and I think I think something's improved for him because I think they've done a little bit better job on the line for sure. So I think there is some improvements, and I do think their defence improves a little bit more this year, so there'll be more opportunities. So from a running perspective, I like it, and I think Lamar Miller is pretty safe. I mean, he's never going to be that bad a flaw. That
About
you think,
Foreman, is there any value in him this
yeah,
year?
definitely, but I think the problem is Devontae Foreman is climbing in ADP value. So it's this awkward situation you have where if you get Lamar Miller, you can't really afford to be taking a rookie handcuff that high. I think you either go one or the
you still got Alfred Blue.
You don't know, but you either go one or the other. You don't do both. And my opinion is, if I get Lamar Miller, I want to back him for this season. Redraft wise, I want to back him. If it's dynasty, yeah, it'd be handy to have both, just simply so that you can cover it if anything happens.
Lamar Miller going 21, Fournette going 20.
Yeah, see, Lamar.
Who would you prefer?
I prefer Fournette. I think Fournette's much safer.
Well, I think we'll move on. Looking at the Colts now, Lux just had off-season shoulder surgery.
Went well, apparently.
Feeling tremendously, according to their owner, but he's not going to say he's arm.
Well, there's a few things that back that up. I mean, first of all, I've seen him, even though he's only just recently had shoulder surgery, he's been throwing short balls 10 and 15 yards. So what that shows you, and these were done...
He's turned into Alex Smith?
No,
10 and 15, that's far.
No, what this shows you is that his throwing motion hadn't changed. He was feeling good. He was comfortable. He'd obviously cleared up the problem he had. And that was just him just practicing accurately at 10 or 15, which is elite.
I mean, you look back to his best last year, and that was with a shoulder injury.
He is an elite talent. He's in the top 4 group. I rate him really highly this year.
Is he in the top 2 group?
He's in the top 2 for me.
Okay.
Particularly for this
I
season.
think we both like him a lot.
I've got him very high this year. There's a reason why, because I think their schedule's perfect. I think he is a player that's more than capable of 40 touchdowns. When you start talking about those numbers, it's exciting. And a quarterback that can do that in that offense, which I think has improved, is a very exciting prospect. And they've improved the line, which is critical to him standing up and being okay.
He's lost Dwayne Allen, but he's got the usual suspects of T.Y. Hilton, Dante Moncrief. Kamar Aiken's been added.
Kamar Aiken's a great
He's a
pick
sneaky little... in a deeper league, he's a sneaky pick, isn't he? You've got Dorsett, who come in highly touted but hasn't found his...
I think Kamar Aiken is the real pick of the bunch here. Dorset, I think we spoke a little bit about this in your Dynasty League. We were kind of weighing them both up a lot, and after they'd been picked, we talked about them both. And I think Kamar Aiken is definitely the number 3 there. Now that doesn't sound exciting, except for the fact that he's actually a really good veteran, and he's a kind of
player.
Moncrief
can't stay fit.
Yeah, and when Moncrief can't stay fit and Kamar Aiken suddenly could be number 2, that's actually great value in that offense. There's going to be a lot of touchdowns going around. There always is.
I read somewhere about Moncrief that he didn't have that many receptions, nearly like a quarter of them or something with touchdowns or something. Something weird like that.
You're absolutely correct, because his numbers are skewed by his touchdown ratio. So you kind of look at it fantasy-wise and think, oh, there's a real talent here. He was injured as well. That must be really great. Skewed a lot by the touchdowns. And that's great. Lovely to have those. They're very important in redraft. But there's a little bit more to it than... You want him healthy. If I want to see a full year out of Moncrief, and I have my concerns over him.
Okay, just quickly on the tight ends. They've lost Dwayne Allen. They've got Jack Doyle and Eric Swoop.
Yeah, Jack Doyle looks great.
You think he's the number 1 definite? Do you think Swoop will be mixed in?
No, I don't. I think Jack Doyle's the number 1.
They do use 2 tight ends.
They do. I think Jack Doyle will get the bulk of the work. And again, he's a safe 100-point plus tight end.
And he's popular in the...
And also T.Y. Hilton was... He'll be right up there as usual, doing his usual, which is, what does T.Y. Hilton do? Loads of yards.
Lots of deep
and no more than 6 to 7 touchdowns. We know that. That's what he does. But the point is...
Does he consistently?
What he's so consistent, is he a 180-point player? Because that's where he's going. Absolutely. The safest 180-point player you're ever going to see. The only thing that stops him doing that is an injury.
Yeah. Well, he has had knee...
he has had bangs and knocks, but... He was over the worst of it last year, and I think he looks pretty good for this year.
Let's look at their backfield. You got the evergreen Frank Gore.
Yep.
Still going as strong as ever.
Yep.
I mean, you can't write the guy off, can you? He's incredible value.
Here's the thing that's really quite funny, right? So, again, great topic we've had. I've had this on different forum boards about, Marlon Mack. Now, I had this conversation last year, as you know. I thought, I'd back against Mr. Frank Gore last year. And what I learnt last year more about Frank Gore than anything else, and it's just proved time and time again, I'm never going to dispute it now. When he tells me he's not going to play, that's the only time I'll take his back up. So when he's hanging up his cleats, that's the time to own the guy coming in. At the moment,
he's solid and consistent.
Frank Gore will be the number 1. Marlon Mack will be relief of duty. That will not change this year. Gore will ride off into the sunset with his traditional just under 1,000 yards, a few hundred yards in the air, somewhere in the range of 6 to 10 touchdowns. What fantastic value! If you were doing
he's going 62, RB 26.
If you were doing a zero, if it ended up your team was kind of angled towards a 0 RB draft because of the way it fell, what a fantastic running back!
I mean, on a team that moved the ball.
Yeah,
a team. I mean, they've got Andrew Luck moving the
got
ball
no
field, Hill
problem.
catching deep.
I'll have no issues with Frank Gore. I will never
I mean,
underrate him.
Turban normally, vultures a couple of the touchdowns.
And it's worth mentioning, obviously it's obvious, if we're talking dynasty, no, of course Frank Gore is not the answer. But for a short 1 year burst, maybe 2, but more than likely just this last year, Frank Gore, until he gives up, he will be very, very good. And then Marlon Mack, who I suspect is really quite good, will have his opportunity. But I think
then you've got
that's
the old
next year.
Seattle players, Turban and C. Mike, who's found yet another team.
Yeah, C. Mike.
Do you think C. Mike will actually make the roster?
No.
You don't?
I don't.
Do you think he could be on another team?
Yeah, I don't. Do you know the trouble is
I think Niall Davis will make it. They love going around.
Actually, no. I saw what you did last year. It's quite funny. Actually, you picked up C. Mike late, and I thought, your dynasty because it was big.
I picked him up the first.
You got it the first chance you had. You took him, didn't you? You realised what was coming, and that was a great pickup. But I sort of thought this year, really late in dynasty, it was a good player to have because somehow he always finds a team somewhere, and whoever it is, he'll have a few games somewhere that are relevant. And no matter what you think, I may never get to use him, but better to have him on your team than not need to use him than not have him on your team. So
at least he hasn't disappeared from the league yet.
No, I don't know if he'll make the bubble there. I mean, that's the problem. Will he make the 53? It's
I get the feeling he's not the brightest. Because, he's got...
Football IQ is a very big part of the game.
He's got all the athleticism in the world, hasn't he?
Yeah, I mean, we're talking
it's like Garrett McKinnon as well.
Football IQ,
Smart boy, they're both really talented, really athletic, but they haven't really ever seemed to do it consistently.
It's interesting. With football IQ is a really strange prospect because when you're talking about plays, I've always found the quickest way to work out if somebody has football IQ is actually draw a play up in the field. So what I mean by this is old school football. So you literally sit in a huddle, you say, this is what I want you to run, you're going to do that, you're going to do that, and you're going to do that. And then you see, as the quarterback, who responds to what you've asked and how they actually do it. And I suspect he can't do that. And that worries me.
That did seem to be picking up.
That worries me because he can't see what you're seeing or he can't react the way you do. It has to be drawn up play-by-play walkthrough. So his football IQ, I'm not saying he's an unintelligent man, it's not the same thing. But I do think his football IQ
football intelligence
is not there, and that means that it struggles to pick up the offense books. He's talented, no doubt. When he plays, he's very good at what he does, but I don't know if he'll last there.
Okay, on to the Jags.
Yeah,
a big season for Bortles and Allen Robinson in many ways.
Yeah, I think they're both bounce back candidates. I do. I don't see what all the problem is. Everybody seems so low on them. I mean, Bortles is going so late. That makes him great value.
The thing with Bortles, I think we said it a lot. He's a horrible quarterback to watch. He makes some horrible mistakes.
Big time mistakes.
But he scores some big... He was top 10 fantasy quarterback last year.
What's wrong with it? If you can get a Bortles
2 years
late...
running, isn't it? I think.
If you can get Bortles late, right? So let's take a similar... Which you can. Let's take a similar scenario to what we saw last year. And I think the Jags have improved, okay? So let's be honest. I think the Jags all round have improved.
He's going QB 20.
There's a few reasons why I think the Jags have improved. Here's the first fact, okay? One of the things that helps a quarterback out the most is a solid running game. They've added Fournette in the backfield. So let's just be honest about this. Fournette, in terms of situation, because you've mentioned about Mixon, you have your concerns, and so do a lot of other people, and I understand those. I think it will shake out that Mixon and Fournette will be brilliantly competitive, both of them. It'll be really interesting to see who ends up being the actual number one rookie running back of the year. I think it'll be between those two. But I think both will do really well.
And I think Fournette will get more runs.
Fournette will have a wonderful...
got a better team.
Fournette will have a wonderful opportunity to prove how good he is. He will have loads of chances as a 3-down back. And that brings stability. That brings stability to the quarterback position because you can hand the ball off. It takes away the threat. People can't just queue up on you.
But
you can try to control.
Bad for him?
Well, no, I don't think the situation's bad. Running backs...
Because Ivory and Yeldon were... distinctly.
Well, I think running backs. You see, running backs. The one advantage to a running back is simply this: if you're really good, you can transfer what you know from college to the NFL level. Now we have seen some issues with this. Sometimes people make mistakes and they overvalue them. But Fournette is good enough. The tape is strong enough. Where I do believe he's a 3-down back. He can get you the 11 to 1200 yards. He will get you 10 touchdowns plus. It's solid numbers. He's going late enough now where at the moment he's in the second round, but that's fantastic value. If he drops into the first round, you'd have to question the value. Now looking for 200 points, it gets more difficult, but it's pretty close, even at the back end.
He's an unknown, but he could be great, but I don't like the team.
I like the situation he falls in. I don't have a problem, but I do have this issue. So let me just explain my issue with any rookies in the first 2 rounds. I ain't touching them. So as much as I've talked him up in fantasy, I've got to make the split definition in here. Large league, it's too high value for me. I have learnt from previous mistakes that I cannot afford to make any risks. So it is a risk. You're absolutely right. I do like him. I think his situation is great. In some leagues,
when you will, and my prediction is you will pick him.
I hope not.
You will,
but I do see the player. I do like him, and there could be. You are right. There could be a situation where I'm going, I don't like what's around him. Who's the best? And he's the best. That could happen. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. But I do.
You're going to get a crappy pick.
There's the issue. There's the rub. As much as I really like the guy, I kind of almost. It's a very difficult thing to discuss because he's the most difficult player to talk about because out of all the players we're going to talk about this season, I'm right in the middle of this. So on the one hand, I'm going, yep, I'm saying 1110 yard, but can I take him in fantasy? No. Because and the issue is I can't afford the risk.
Too much of a risk.
If the locks, my front two players don't lock, and rookies always have that bigger risk on them, I'm in trouble. And I'm not putting myself in that hole. I would rather go with a more solid prospect. So there's a lot of other players around him I like.
Okay.
And the TFP account agreed with me there.
Well,
so I'm happy with
I think she's warning you that you're making a mistake. Anyway, I think the wide receivers, we got Robinson, Hearns, and we got Lee, same three as last year, so you can't expect much different
I think as Bortles improves, Robinson improves.
Will he improve though?
Yeah, I think Bortles will definitely improve because the stability at running game helps him. That means less mistakes. I also think this helps Robinson, but Robinson's value is so high, I can't pick him in there.
He's down sort of 32.
I can't pick him there. It's too high for me. Sorry,
although he's dropped from last year.
He has to drop further down.
He's got talent, hasn't he?
It's tremendous. He has to drop further down, and I might consider it.
Right, tight end, obviously they got rid of Julius Thomas.
Yeah.
They got Mercedes Lewis and Rivera, who used to be at the Raiders. Apparently Rivera's taken the first team snap.
Yeah, it does make sense. Yeah.
Is any value in him?
It's tight end. It's minimal, but
Julius Thomas did nothing.
Yeah, it's minimal, and again, but
he's played balls.
We'll
move on.
Yeah, it's minimal. I mean, yes, there is a tight end there, but probably out of all of them, if we're being honest, let's just divide it into this.
Oh, there is a tight end there.
There's a group of tight ends that kind of would be serviceable, and then you've got this guy who'd be like okay at best.
And then there's the one where you fall asleep and realise 50 are gone off the board and he's your best hope.
That's your only hope.
Right, let's move on to the Titans. They're definitely an improving team.
Yeah.
Mariota.
Oh, they've really
seriously impressed me last year.
Yeah, really, really stepped up. Massive.
We've talked about briefly earlier about Murray and Henry, but you're going to have to spend two good-looking running backs, aren't they?
You don't want that in redraft because the value, because what you're losing.
The price is too.
It's worth talking about. This is. You've got Murray, he's around one talent, right? So then you've got to go in, at least probably round, you've got to go in, depending on what you're drafting, what your position is drafting, you've probably got to go in round 3, maybe early round 4 to guarantee him.
Yeah.
So the truth is, that's 2 picks inside the top 5 in any draft value.
And you're probably only getting one player,
and
maybe.
That's in redraft just
Henry's
too
going
much.
98.
Yeah, it's too much. And my opinion is you own one or the other, and both actually have value. You see, for Derrick Henry's value, where he's going, that's actually realistic. He can hit 140 fantasy points. That's fine. If he goes in round 4, I'm okay with that. I'm still think there are better players around him, but if you needed a running back and you're thinking who has the potential to get those points and have a big ceiling, his is as high as DeMarco Murray's. If DeMarco Murray goes off, as a cliff edge, Derrick Henry's value shoots through the roof. Now, in Dynasty, you absolutely want to own both because both of them give you guaranteed number one value for quite a while because you've just said absolutely hit the nail on the head. This team is massively improving and they are rapidly gaining the potential to be a very, very good team, both fantasy and real life. I think they're really exciting. Going to be exciting to watch.
So let's just briefly talk about their receiving core. Richard Matthews, we think he's very underrated.
Really good value.
Both quite high on him.
Really good value. I mean, I don't think everybody's sold on him, but I am. And again, there are a lot of players at that point in an ADP draft. I'd take him.
You've got Delaney Walker. He's always
solid. Top end of the tree on tight. Can Delaney Walker get you near 130 fantasy points every single year he plays? Yes. That's it. And he's going. He's not even going in the top
Looking at
end
the other
type
wide,
five.
looking at the other wide receivers, you got Corey Davis, obviously.
Got to talk about the rookie, yeah. Tremendously exciting rookie, probably the best wide receiver rookie we've seen for a while.
An instant starter?
Yeah, it'll be an instant starter, but not instant fantasy value. Dynasty pick, phenomenal. I mean, he'd be right up there.
Talented guy.
You want him on an improving team over the next few years. Going to be exciting to mix him up with Mariota. Assume the two have a bond, and I suspect they will. That is going to be an exciting player to watch. Year one, I'm tempering my enthusiasm. I'm kind of saying he's going to be a middle of the road.
Because of his name, he'll be overdrafted?
Yeah, very much so. People will take him way too high. Even in the large leagues, he'll go inside the top 6 rounds, and that is just crazy talk. So
he's going above people like Jonathan Stewart, Theo Riddick, Matt Forte, Derrick Henry.
Yeah,
Eric Decker.
You can't take him above. I don't think you can take him above those kind of players, personally. But there will be players that will take that risk, hoping that they've got another Michael Thomas on their hands, and maybe they have. But for me, there aren't been that many players. I mean, you look at the last 10 years in the NFL, and I was looking at this in detail before coming here today. 3 wide receivers in the last 10 years. Sorry, 4. I do apologise. 4 in the last 10 years have come in and wow, look what they've achieved. 3 of them come out in the same year, and one of them was Michael Thomas, who came out a couple of years later. Mike Evans, the year of Mike Evans OBJ. That was the year we had 3 cracking ones come through. But the truth is, that's rare. So I'm not going to worry about Corey Davis. If I could get him in Dynasty, I'd love to own him. I'll put it that way. I'd love to own him. And I'd be happy to sit on that player and marinate him in the background until his time comes, or I think, I'm seeing the improvement.
I mean, the other players in the mix, I guess, Tajay Sharp and Tyrone Taylor.
Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of both of them, actually. I mean, I'm kind of, again, I'm not high on them, but they're going low enough that it's worth a shot. I couldn't tell you who's going to be the number 3
I've seen Tajay Sharp on some sleeper lists. He's not
all right.
particularly on mine, but
no, it's all right.
You need somebody
I mean, again, it's a late round pick, whether it be Dynasty or whether it be redraft. I could see the logic, because I think Corey Davis doesn't come on year 1 fully. But equally, that could be a wasted pick. So I'm kind of avoiding them, if that makes both those guys won't kind of make my lists.
Okay, so moving on to the Broncos. We've got another QB battle here between Paxton Lynch and Trevor Siemian.
Yeah.
What's your inkling there?
Trevor Siemian wins the job.
You do?
Yeah, I do. I think Paxton Lynch will come on. I think what happens is you'll see a similar situation in a lot of battles. Simeon wins the job in pre-season. He plays a few games, then Paxton Lynch takes over permanently.
Oh, that could happen.
That's the way I see it panning out.
I've seen him talking up Paxton Lynch a lot.
Well, he's certainly. You may recall from a couple of years back, I had him very high on my quarterback list.
You did, yeah.
And I do like him. I mean, he's one of them players where I think he's in the right fit. A good defence. There's a good offence still to work with. There is some need at offence to improve it. Get some young youth in there. But if you're being honest, Paxton Lynch can bring some interesting stability to that team, and he could be very relevant. I think it'll pan out. Simeon starts, but quickly replaced by Paxton Lynch, who then takes over permanently, and I think that's how it will go.
I wouldn't be surprised. Whoever wins, he's got a great receiving core.
Great receiving. Both of them, though, are on the end twilight of the careers. They're both in that 30-plus range.
Demaryius Thomas is about 28, 29, something like that.
Emmanuel Sanders is 30.
He's 30, yeah. But they're both good still, aren't they?
Still very good, yeah. But
you've got Jordan Taylor, 6'5",
and they could still be relevant, for another 2 or 3 years. Never lose sight of that.
Oh no, I think they will be.
But I do like Paxton Lynch's opportunity. I just think I don't think it starts that way. I just think he grows into it, and once he takes over permanently.
What about Jordan Taylor? He's 6'5". Carlos Henderson, the new 3rd-round rookie.
They're interesting players, but again,
problem is if you can't trust the 2 main ones who are great because of the quarterbacks,
you're never going to trust the 3rd, and for me they won't reach any of my lists.
Virgil Green and AJ Derb.
Again, I'm going to try and avoid them on all my fantasy lists, just simply because I think there are better options where they are going in ADPs. So I'll always avoid those players, let other people take them.
Okay,
I'm helping my fantasy enthusiasts against myself.
We'll move quickly
because they don't believe what I say anyway.
The Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, very interesting. This is very interesting team.
Do you think Smith keeps the job for this year?
Oh yeah, without doubt. I mean,
I think everyone thinks that.
I think he has to keep the job for this. I think the thing, what you're dealing with is my favourite quarterback underneath him. Okay, so
Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, I think he is the star player out of this crop of players, and not everybody agrees with that. But I think he's
quarterback. You mean, or star player?
Star player quarterback.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Star player. No, you said both. Are you
both.
saying he's the best quarterback, or are you saying he's the best player?
He's the best quarterback in this draft. Okay, he's the best quarterback. in this draft class for me, for purely based on observation, mechanics, the way he commands his offense, his leadership skills really shine through, which is really important when you go to the next level in the NFL. I think he's a man who understands his role. He knows full well that he's going to be learning from Alex Smith. Alex Smith understands the game he's now in, which is, you've been a good pro for us, thank you for everything you've done, but the offense is now changing. We need to take this in a new direction. You can only take us so far, and we want to go to the Super Bowl. And Alex Smith understands that.
Not 2 yards up the field.
Well, he did a good, with what he was doing.
He's a game manager.
What he was doing works for him, and there's nothing wrong with that in the NFL. His win-loss record is actually pretty impressive, actually.
Oh yeah, definitely.
His win-loss record is pretty impressive. Now the problem comes that all will happen this year is no matter how bad, and he won't stink up the place, Alex Smith, but no matter how bad he plays, Mahomes doesn't come in this year. No. So it's a whole year of sitting behind.
But I don't think Smith does ever play badly.
No, he doesn't.
He just doesn't do anything exciting.
He's a solid professional, doesn't give away the ball much. So because he doesn't make many mistakes, the team's never in a bad spot normally. And I respect that. I understand that's what he does best. And if that's what you do best, you stick to what works. Now, what this means for Smith is going to showcase his skills this year. And let's be honest, there is a ton of teams out there that would love to have a Smith at the helm who's not going to make mistakes. Cleveland, Jacksonville. You wouldn't mind him. Yeah, actually, you wouldn't mind that player. There's a lot of teams that need Houston, would need a quarterback. Buffalo might want to consider. Rams would take him. I know that people wouldn't like it, but I would rather have a solid quarterback that we could find our franchise on, which is what Smith will offer you. He could give you a very, very good journeyman's career for what he's got left. And he's going to find a job in this NFL because he's that good.
Yeah, I think I totally agree with that, actually.
He will find a job.
Well, let's look at his receiving core. Obviously, they lost Macklin, which was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
You're now looking at Tyreek Hill, probably the number one.
Well, we
just found out he's not going to be returning kicks this year. So
this is interesting. I think we can be really true about this. I predicted a few weeks back with you off camera. Really, I said that Tyreek Hill, no one will kick to him this year. And they've already pretty much agreed with me, because what they've said is we're not going to ask you to take kicks back. So they know that of the offensive and defensive coordinators, particularly defensive coordinators, are going to say, like I would, what would you do defensively to stop this talent? You don't kick the ball to him. And if your kicker does that, I'm telling my kicker, if you kick it anywhere near him, you're cut. You don't do that. I'd rather you kick it out of bounds and give me a penalty. I'll take that. I don't want this guy to get the ball in his hand to get 6. Do not let it go anywhere near him, and watch for him sneaking on. So where this is an advantage to Kansas and where it's an advantage to Tyreek Hill, Kansas now know that they've played the right game by announcing this, because what that does is the defensive coordinators will still be keeping an eye on him. But what happens is when they need to bring him in, a critical situation where the wind is up and it's a difficult kick, you can put him the other side. So the way you would want to kick it with the wind, you put him that side when it's a critical moment in a game. They can't kick that way. They have to kick into the wind. Anything can happen. It's brilliant for Kansas. It's brilliant. And for Tyreek Hill, all that this means is, like they've said, they're going to use him as their number one wide receiver.
They obviously think that highly of him, that they prepared to let Macklin go, that he is ready to be number one.
He's going to be the number one for them. So my only concern to you, I said before, was they say they were going to give him more production. Does that equate to the loss of touchdowns, etc., that would come from the kick returns and punt return? The answer really clearly is yes, it does, and probably a little bit more. So his value is brilliant.
But he only played in like a stupid number of snaps, like 40% of offensive snaps last year.
He was brilliant.
And this year he's going to be on the field all the time.
He was, depending on your league format, in some leagues he was a league winner, because he was doing everything. He was a real slash player, one of those old Cordell Stewart types who could catch, receive and everything.
I was watching a video, and I can't remember which team it was. They were watching him and saying, "Guy, what's this dude? Is he a wide receiver or is he a runner?" Because he was running the ball past them. I can't remember. But it's a funny video.
Yeah, great player, good upside, and his ADP is great. What a player to get.
It will climb though, won't it?
I think it will continue to climb, but I still think it's a great value right now. It's a good
What
player.
about the other? Obviously, I mean, Kelsey off shoulder surgery. He's back doing light work, but he's going to get...
CFP Cat hates tight ends. You can't blame him.
Not happy with Travis Kelce.
No, it's giving you a big warning there. That's an injury-prone player, isn't it?
Well, exactly, yeah.
Do you agree, injury-prone? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she's really talking him down. She's saying injury, keep away. She doesn't like him at all.
There's a big warning there.
There's a big warning. I think if the cat is saying that, that's what you need to know. There's a big injury coming. Sorry, Travis Kelce. No, I'm avoiding Travis Kelce in every league, actually, because... I don't want a tight end that early in any league.
He's going to get loads of receptions, especially in PPR.
Yeah, I think there's loads of opportunity for injury.
Who are they going to throw to apart from him? You've got Chris Conley, Albert Wilson.
I think Conley gets a big uptick. I think he gets a tick up. I don't think you're talking about Alex Smith. He finds ways to spread the ball around. He's a good pro. They'll be fine. They'll do what they always do. You're not going to have the exception to the rule is Tyreek Hill, because he can do run plays, he can do wide receiving plays, and if you can get him in any kind of screens or players where there's space, which is all you need to do,
he's devastating.
It's dangerous. I mean, so dangerous. And some players always used to say, if you give me 6 inches of daylight, Christ, this guy, if he has 6 yards, it's over. So I've got no problem with this. I think Tyreek Hill is a very good player in his ADP, and I think Kansas don't skip a beat really. As for Travis Kelce, I've got big warning signs. Tell us the TFP cat, so don't try not to pick him too high.
I quite like him, especially in PPR, but not you have to pick him high, and I probably won't be drafting him.
Maybe PPR. That's a fair shout out. You may be right there. That might not be a bad shout for a tight end like him, who's going to have more options to catch the ball.
The backfield's also very interesting. I mean,
fascinating.
You've got Spencer Ware and Kendrick West from last year. They've added Kareem Hunt and CJ Spiller.
Yeah,
CJ Spiller. How is he still in the NFL?
Well, he, again, a seasoned veteran, but not the kind of seasoned veteran you want in your fantasy team, unfortunately. He may be seasoned, but he ain't going to do a lot.
How does he keep getting in anyone's team?
Because he probably shows up for training, does a great job at training, and looks like he can flash potential.
He does like one catch a year and then disappears to somebody else.
I've looked at this backfield really carefully, and the way I'm looking at it at the moment is this is the problem. This is a classic split problem backfield. Spencer Ware's going very high on the ADP list. So is Hunt. They're going quite high. If you own one in redraft, which one? Who knows? What does that tell you? It's a nightmare. Would you avoid both? Probably.
It is going to be Hunt or Ware, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, West is probably the third choice. You're talking
primarily for the running duty here. West will get used in certain passing down situations, which makes sense because his skill set fits that, and is a good outlet valve. You said, where are these receptions going to go? Could be to players like him. Actually, West could be the recipient of a few more. So he's a good play. Could end up being a bit like a lesser man's, I guess, a lesser man's Charles Sims. That kind of player he could end up. He's going to have opportunity to shine, but this running game will divide people massively. So I'm going to try and help you out and split the difference here. Very simply. This is how it will work out this year, and get ready for this. First half of the season, Spencer Ware. Second half, Hunt takes over and keeps the job. That's it. That's all there is to it. It's how I see it playing out. I can't see any other result for this, because I think Spencer Ware is well liked there. But what will happen is, as they begin the season, he'll get most of the work. As Hunt begins to find his feet with the offence and works his way in, I see a shift of power 50-50, and then once Hunt proves what he can do, I won't be surprised that Hunt takes the duties over. But it will still be a bit of a split backfield throughout most of the year. What does that mean for fantasy? You in redraft, you've got to avoid.
It's too cloudy, isn't it?
It's too cloudy. But in Dynasty, if you're going to take a shot at anybody, I'll go for Hunt. I'll go for Hunt. I'll take a gamble on him.
I think it might be another thing where they end up splitting three ways,
and that wouldn't be surprising, would it? And you wouldn't, but you would have avoided.
That's without mentioning CJ Spiller,
and you'll have avoided it. That's the key.
That one reception I lose to his productivity. I mean, that could kill him.
One reception for a touchdown. That's
okay. We'll move on to the Raiders.
Yeah.
Derek Carr. I think he's an elite quarterback.
We were right last year. Elite. He made the steps necessary. Amari Cooper, I was really hoping
he's a real gunslinger, isn't he? I love watching him.
Yeah, Carr proved he's elite. And what Amari Cooper showed everybody last year, which I kind of hinted at, but it didn't pan out last year quite the way I hoped, which is I wanted Amari Cooper to prove that he was an elite number one wide receiver. What he's done is he's shown flashes of it, and I think what you're seeing now is the guy who is just on the verge. Some players do take 3 years to break out. That's what happens. He's gonna make that step. He's going to make that step. But here's the rub. Here's the problem with Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper is going very high in ADP. So, can I trust Amari Cooper after what we've learned last year? No. That's my problem. Amari Cooper has got to earn me 180 fantasy points. Last year he earned, 140 odd? Just about.
I mean, he did miss a couple of games.
He missed a couple of games.
He's showed 22 off the
He showed flashes of absolute eliteness, and he also showed flashes of silliness. And I think what's got to happen is for him to prove to me, I'm going to let him pass this year. Just as I say, you learn from what happens. I'll let him go. I think if he was a 3rd round pick or a 4th round pick in leagues, that would be fantastic. You'd be going yes, but a 2nd round one, I'll have to avoid.
Do you know what I think?
And I'd pick up Crabtree later.
I think why he didn't pick up as many as you probably hoped last year.
He did drop a few, and he had a few callback.
He had a few big drops.
Yeah, big ones in the end zone.
A couple of touchdowns.
Pullback.
But also Crabtree's emergence.
Yeah, Crabtree has benefited from his kind of woes.
Crabtree's a good solid pro.
Well, he will again be great,
and pretty much they were much of a muchness.
Okay, say you've gone running back heavy this year, right, in a draft, okay? So you've had 3 running backs on the bounce. You're looking around 4 or 5 in a large league. Crabtree's solid as a rock. I mean, that's a great pick up there. Yeah. I mean, that's as simple as it is. I mean, for what you would lose, you can't. Amari Cooper round 2 is very high. But Crabtree 4 or 5, it's great value because you're going to get similar productivity.
I mean, there wasn't a lot between them last year.
No, there wasn't. So I'm quietly comfortable with that. I mean, I love Amari Cooper. I think he's going to become elite. It's just a question of when. And would it be this year? Maybe. But I'm not going to risk that in a fantasy. I'm not going to give you that advice because I don't want to just say, just because I'm stubborn and go, yeah, I know it's going to be this year. No, I'm going to avoid this year. My advice is just, look, in Dynasty, if you've got Amari Cooper, fantastic. You can roll the dice with him any week you like, and you may be sitting on a gold mine come another year.
Yeah, because Crabtree's not going to last forever, is he?
So it's no problem with that. But in redraft, I would just err on the side of caution because the ADP is just too high for me.
Seth Roberts obviously
really played well.
A few touchdowns.
He played well when he came in. He showed vulture quality.
In a really, really deep league, if you have to take a shot, then
really good. I mean, it's so late. I mean, there's nothing lost.
And if Crabtree or Cooper go down, he's
really steps into good wide receiver 2 value.
You know who else they got there, don't you?
They got a few players you like.
Cordell Patterson.
Yeah. Okay. I can't predict.
How that bloke? He looked.
I don't know how to,
didn't he? A couple of years ago, and then he just totally.
I've got to give this man a mention, right? I've got to mention him here. Right, we've got one person we know, right? Who's a guru of this. His name's Gordon.
He's fantastic.
And Gordon, and I've got to give him real big kudos for this because it is such a skill. It's really rare you see it. Everybody's got skills, but this is really unique. Is when a person can pick up Cordell Patterson off waivers, play him for 2 weeks, and get production out of him, and then drop him. It's a genius.
I don't know.
It's genius.
He hasn't done anything for 2 years.
He's done nothing for 2 years.
2 weeks he played him. Touchdowns.
Touchdowns left, right,
and then he didn't play him again.
So
he's just a great at knowing.
He just knows when somebody's got
a good matchup.
When they've got a matchup,
even if he's Cordell Patterson.
He's got that eye for it. And there's a skill to this. So if you spot people,
I wish I had that skill.
I say this a lot. If you've got in different leagues and you've got a Gordon out there. And okay, there's nothing you can do against him in the league you're playing him, but you can use what you see and use it in other leagues. I certainly did that last year, and I'm going to tell Gordon now. It definitely helped. There's no doubt about that. It definitely helped me, so appreciate that.
We use everyone's knowledge in the league. Yeah. It's a very good community we're in.
It is, yeah, it is very good. You've got to join it. If you don't know what the TFP is, I'm sure Alan will leave on this video a way for you to join it at the end. That'd be worth watching.
A lot of it's on the Thefanpub.com. It's moved off the forums onto Discord chat, and it's
good platform.
And it's pretty much all NFL
all season long, fantasy. Even out of season.
Yeah, even out of season, it's still lively. There's posts on there every day. So if you miss it like we do, come and join us.
Yeah,
come and give Sean some stick.
Well, everybody does. It's fair.
I think so. He's also got. I mean, I picked this guy up just purely because of his basic stats, not maybe because of talent.
Okay.
He's a really deep rookie shot. Ishmael Zamora.
All right. Okay.
He's 6'4" and he runs track, so he's fast.
Yeah.
So if he can catch the ball, I mean, he's got problems as well with personality.
Yeah, I'm. Yeah,
but he's only just someone I'm putting out there. He might not even make the team. To be honest,
if you're going for a redraft, deep sleep, one of those last picks.
Yeah, if you're in the 5th round, if you're at the end of the 5th round, he's still there.
I totally see the logic of that, and I have no problem with that at all. It's not a player that's going to be anywhere near my radar for this year in any form. I do totally see the logic of you have to late round. You're taking flyers.
I'm just thinking people who like Martavis Bryant who are big and they're quick.
Well, Derek Carr can put the ball out there for him. So, if anybody can find a deep it's a fantastic situation for him.
He might not make the team, so we'll move on. Tight end, you got Jared Cook and Clive Walford.
Yeah, I mean,
Derek Cook obviously at the Packers last year. I think he's just moved again. Is it just for money? Do you think?
I can't work this bloke's motives out. I'm assuming he's a mercenary. He's a mercenary. I mean, the thing is, he's on it. There's a good line.
He's probably cashed in off a good year.
Yeah, he's a good line. He's a player that can catch the ball, but
he can drop it as well.
We know he can drop him. He's another jelly hands player, and funny enough, it's funny how your teams may need a few jelly hands players from time to time. Cook is. he's a late round tight end, well worth a pick. There's no doubt. I mean, he can give you the solid tight end numbers, yes, in that offence, no doubt.
But would you
about
be
that.
excited about?
No, you're never going to be excited with them.
Clive Walford?
No,
Okay,
never going to
we'll
be
move
excited
on.
about.
Okay, the last team we're going to talk about on this.
Do you want to mention their running game at all about Oakland? Or
I forgot about that. Beast mode is back.
Yeah, beast mode. You've got to talk about that.
I mean, the guy is amazing. Apparently, the video coming out of him running through everyone in practice.
How do you feel about him? Do you think he is going to come back as a stud? You think he's going to be a stud?
I think he's one of them players that if he plays,
Yeah.
he'll be good because that's just his character.
I'm really tempered with him. I've got to be honest because
This is probably a better O-line than he ever got in Seattle.
I know, and a coach that wouldn't not run the ball with 22 seconds to go with the Super Bowl on the line.
Four
with
goes
Lynch
to the 1 yard
yeah.
line with the best running back.
It's not that kind of nonsense.
After contact.
But I will say this. I mean, my concern is simply this. All right, and I this is all I can go on. All right, so please, shoot me down if you want to. But this is how I see it. I watched carefully the decline in Seattle of Lynch. I saw a decline, right? And I like to follow what I see happening.
Yeah, but he only declined because he was injured. He wasn't on the field.
He had some problems that were noticeable to me. So I began to notice this decline, right? So the last... And Seattle fans who are out there, take the rose-tinted glass off. Be honest. Tell us what you think it is. So you can tell us...
now. He's not there.
You can be totally honest. A lot of them were saying the same as I'm about to say, which is... They thought he was on the way out.
But he had an abdominal strain, though. I mean, if you're doing anything with an abdominal strain...
There was more to it than just the injuries at the end. There's more to this. They could see a decline in performance, okay? That's just a fact. He had declined in his skill set. He's now had 2 years out of the game almost, okay? So can he come back in? He's elite. We know he's an elite talent.
Yes.
Can he produce? You say yes?
I say yes.
I'm going to say no. Okay, so I
would temper that with it's a risk.
I'm going to say no because I'm going to say that it's a risk for this player. Now, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, let's look at his ADP first. So where is he currently going? If you wouldn't mind giving a shout out today. We're using Fantasy Pros for this.
Consensus opinion on Fantasy Pros.
So we like that one.
31.
Okay, so
let's... Are you going in between Alshon Jeffrey and Allen Robinson?
Right,
I
don't have a problem taking in between those two players, don't get me wrong, but I still think, personally... You're now asking for 180. You're asking, when we talk about fantasy
advice, you can get
advice,
over 200 if he plays all year. This is a good O-line at Oakland.
It is a good O-line. Yeah,
and they're not going to load the box against Carr.
I'm going to say this. I think he gives you good numbers. I don't think he gives you 180.
If he plays, he'll give you 180. Definitely. The injuries are the worry. It is a risk. It is a gamble.
I have concerns of him playing the full 16 games. I'm concerned enough that I couldn't recommend taking him in a second round of a large league. So I'm going to pass on that player and say...
He's going 31.
Yeah, I'm going to pass. I would say if he dropped into the third or fourth round, he never dropped into fourth, but if he dropped into third, I would consider him. But at this moment in time...
Who would you rather take out of McCaffrey and Lynch for this year?
I don't want to touch McCaffrey.
He's got the highest...
I don't want to touch McCaffrey because if he goes inside the second round, he's no value to me. Give me some running backs that have fallen into the third round on ADP value, and I'll tell you if any of them are worth taking over.
McCaffrey's one of them.
Okay.
Then it's Joe Mixon.
Yeah, that's too high.
And CJ Anderson. You're telling me which one of Eddie Lacy? You're telling me which one of them?
I'm probably swerving and taking wide receivers instead. I won't touch it. That's a bit of a mess. I mean, I totally see the logic. I mean, I see why people rate him.
If he's fit, he's the number one. They've got DeAndre Washington, Jalen Richard.
He's bound to be a player that is. It's kind of like he's going to polarise.
He'll get all the goal line carry, unless Olawale gets
it's a polarising situation for me. But I think with him, I'd rather let someone else take the risk on him. And if it pans out to be worth 180, good luck to you. I just think I'll take other players.
He could be a first round talent.
Here's what I do. Okay?
He could be a nowhere.
So you might say to me, "You've given me some running backs. Tell me what wide receivers are around that point. The end of the second round."
Demaryius Thomas, Devontae Adams, Keenan Allen.
See, Devontae Adams is really great value. See, he would be really great value there.
Depending what you need.
Depending on what you need. The other thing I would probably consider is, faced with a quandary like that, having already had a first round pick, probably somebody like... I've probably got one of the top three, let's put it that way. I've got Bell, I've either got David Johnson or I've got Ezekiel Elliott. I'm now picking at the end of round 2. I'll probably take an elite quarterback. I'll avoid that situation.
Well, you've got Brady in the
I'll be looking more at, obviously, Rodgers,
Luck
and probably Breeze then.
Rodgers 29.
Yeah, I'll probably look at them in that order.
Okay. Okay. Well, moving on to the last one for this this video, or for this podcast, or pubcast, I should say.
Pubcast, yeah.
The LA Chargers.
Yeah, another fantastically interesting team. Very interesting team. Yeah,
best team in LA, or?
Definitely the best team in LA. Yeah, unfortunately, there's nothing we can't claim to have the better team. No.
Okay.
They're a really interesting team because they've got a lot of interesting pieces there.
This is a very I mean, Rivers has got so many weapons this year. There's
Again,
no excuse.
Late round quarterback going late. I mean, nothing wrong with Rivers.
There's no excuse. Listen to his receiving core. I mean, he's got Keenan Allen.
Yeah,
9 games in 2 years.
Yeah, it worries me.
But he's elite when he plays.
Yeah, but
then 9 games, was he good?
Yeah,
apart from the one he got injured in.
Well, let me tell you. Let me just clear this up. Avoid. Yeah, next player.
He did get a freak injury.
Yeah, avoid.
Freak yachting accident this year, probably.
Avoid.
Okay.
I'm telling you now. There are some players that are just glass.
I love Terrell Williams.
Yeah, me too.
Massive fan of his film.
I think tick. He's a tick player. You want him on your team.
Mike Williams, obviously a first round rookie pick,
but a few injuries hanging over him as well.
He's already missed some time back.
I'm concerned that he's already behind on the OTAs. I do have major issues, and he's behind a few other more solid veterans on the depth chart. I don't think year one for Mike Williams. Year one, no. Long term dynasty, probably yes.
They've still got Dontrell Inman.
Yeah.
Travis Benjamin.
Some nice players.
And 2 elite tight ends, Gates and Hunter Henry.
Yeah, I mean
that is some receiving.
It's funny.
Is there too many mouths to feed though?
I think the issue is if Keenan Allen falls over again, I think what you're looking at is a spread the offense kind of situation, which Rivers does so well, like all good quarterbacks do. So it's take your poison. I think Williams is the beneficiary all round here. Actually,
there's 2 Williams.
Terrell is the one. Terrell is the main. Terrell is the main beneficiary of all of this this year, and probably moving into next.
I think people have put Terrell Williams down as well.
They put him down. I think Mike Williams will need time. Clearly, he's going to need time. His OTAs tell you that. He's behind on everything. I think it's going to stay like this for him all year. It's going to be a tough start for his NFL career. Not long term. I mean, the talent's there and he'll clearly build into a role. But year one, just very much temper your enthusiasm for him.
Terrell Williams is going 118 off the ball, but he's up value. 51. So
yeah, but such good.
People are already catching on to the fact that 169 was ridiculous.
Well, we both said this weeks ago. We said that's crazy stuff. I mean, it's great value.
When we were talking about sleepers,
I'm still happy with him there. That's still good value.
So am I.
There's a lot of players around that area. I'd happily take him. So I'm happy with that. The running game, we know now what Melvin Gordon can do.
I mean, literally, he's probably going to be a 3-down back.
He looks great.
No Woodhead, so you take the third down specialist out. Brandon Oliver.
It looks great for Melvin Gordon.
Oh, he's a midget.
He's worth his ADP. It looks really good. It's an exciting spread offense. Everything bodes well for him. Yes, I do have a small red flag because he had an injury last year, and that does temper my absolute enthusiasm. But running backs do get banged up, and they do
look
miss
at the other options though. Brandon Oliver, who's like a midget.
Not going to happen.
Farrow, who was a rookie last year, didn't do much when he came in.
Be lucky to make the team.
Another Williams, the old Giants player.
Yep. Andre.
Yeah, Andre.
Andre the Giant Williams. Yeah, he ain't going to do nothing.
Piece of turd.
Yeah, he ain't going to do nothing.
Probably a bit harsh. Sorry, Andre, if you're listening.
You'll be sued by his lawyers for slander.
Yeah, Sean, don't say things like that. Anyway, and Ken John Barner, He's shown glimpses.
There was moments in Philadelphia where he thought he could be an interesting player, but I think again there were moments and that was it. No, I think it's pretty simple. It's his backfield and that's it. And he'd be good. He's going to be a good player.
So that makes it quite good value then, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's a good player. It's going to be really good to see how he does.
And you can't load the box against all those receivers.
You can't. And what he showed last year, Melvin Gordon, was that year one was a bit more of a blimp. It was one of those things where everything didn't work for him. He couldn't find the end zone. Things just didn't fall right. Year two, he found the end zone over 10 times. And that's what you expect to happen again.
You can see him doing that again.
You can see him doing that again this year. He's a round one talent. He's a 200-point player.
And if you had to draft a backup?
I wouldn't touch any of them. I won't be looking at backups. You either believe in Melvin Gordon or you don't. I won't touch any of them.
Yeah, but if he gets injured, someone's got to blow.
Barner as a late round flyer. As a gamble.
Yeah. He's definitely the most talented.
As a gamble. A late round flyer just in case.
Well, okay. Well, that brings us to the end of the AFC. We split it in half, hoping to get an hour. It's gone over an hour and a half, so we can only apologise for that.
That's fine.
We get
first video away. Back. That's the best way to be.
So if you're still listening, thanks very much for listening. We've got more content coming out over the next few coming days and weeks. The podcast will be back every week now. And it's good to be back, Sean.
It's fantastic to be back. Can't wait to see what people make of it. And we look forward to more and more people joining the TFP, and hopefully the numbers grow. We need your help to do that. We need you to start spreading these videos on Facebook, if you would. Let people know on YouTube, other sites. Please like them as best you can. Subscribe. Do everything you can, because we are a UK podcast. That makes us fairly unique. And let's be honest, we're bloody good at what we do, actually. We've done a good job last year. So. We did a good job last year. We identified for you the top player in fantasy. Never an easy thing to do, because we didn't follow the trend, and we were correct to do so. And we look forward to giving you more insights this year, which we hope will bring you to fantasy gold. And we've got a lot to talk about with fantasy gold, which I'm sure we will in videos.
We have talked for a long time, haven't we? That's always the case, unfortunately. Thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you again soon.